So, guten Morgen, Herr Botschafter, und vielen Dank für die Gelegenheit, dieses Interview im Rahmen der Verstaltungen zum Abschluss Ihres Mandats in Rumänien führen zu dürfen.
Guten Morgen, thanks. We can do it in German, but we can also switch to English.
For me it will be difficult, but I wanted to start it in German.
Thank you.
As a sign of being grateful as a Romanian society for your mandate here in Romania. So I guess this is it, Mr. Ambassador, because it's a diplomatic tenure that started before Russia's invasion into Ukraine. Romania far away from being a Schengen member, but with a pro-European stance, to name a few examples that we had in the last 4 to 5 years. But before moving to the most important moments of your mandate, I would like to take the opportunity because the moment that we are having this interview is just after Federal Chancellor Friedrich Merz was in Washington. Today, when we are recording it, is a D-Day, an important moment for Europe, but also for Germany becoming once again a democratic power and a power that leads the European Union. And I would like to start maybe decrypting a bit what happened in the Oval Office. We know that Chancellor Merz had the gesture of offering President Trump a framed copy of his grandfather's German birth certificate that was a powerful symbol that put an emphasis on the US president's European origins.
Yes.
The meeting also surfaces on complex historical legacies, such as the different perspective on the D-Day, and remarks about German rearmament that was when President Trump quoted General MacArthur. When a diplomat might be asked to take some conclusions and takeaways from this Oval Office meeting, what would those be?
Thank you so much for the possibility to exchange, and of course, this visit is one which makes headlines today. We feel it was a very successful visit. It sent a strong message that Germany and the US are close partners and allies for a long time, and that it is in both our interests to continue this close partnership. We are linked when it comes to security, when it comes to economy, and while it is obvious that there are a lot of issues to discuss, that there are sometimes different positions, the visit was meant to highlight the fact that despite differences in some areas, we are partners, we are allies, and I think in this regard, the visit went very well. It is about also symbolic gestures. You are right, President Trump has German roots, and it was therefore a strong sign of closeness, of partnership, to hand over this wonderful gift, the birth certificate of his grandfather. I think it was a wonderful gesture, and we have all followed, of course, how appreciated it was by President Trump. And I think overall, the two leaders matched very well. They, of course, made their positions clear. Also, our Chancellor, when it comes to Ukraine, when it comes to clearly addressing who is the aggressor, and that's Russia. So in this sense, I think it was also important to exchange and to liaise. But it is a very, very important base to jointly tackle the challenges that now lie ahead of us, which is, on the one hand, the situation in Ukraine, the terrible aggression of Russia, continuous aggression of Russia against Ukraine, and the threat to Europe overall in this regard. And secondly, of course, the issue of trade, of economic partnership, where we have, I think, seen a clear statement also from our Chancellor that there is a joint interest in binding us closer together by finding a solution in the trade dispute.
As Germany's top diplomat here in Romania, the EU and NATO country with the longest border with the conflict that Russia caused in Ukraine, we want to look back at your tenure as a diplomat here, and what do you consider to be the most important milestones in the German-Romanian relations in these years?
For me, as a diplomat, as German ambassador to Romania, it was really a great privilege to be here in these last 4 years, because these last 4 years have brought with them a number of challenges. Foremost, of course, the Russian aggression, which directly affects also this neighborhood, and Romania, with, as you have rightly described it, having the longest land border of any EU country to Ukraine, being directly affected from refugee flows when it comes to supporting Ukraine in many respects. So it has been, my tenure here, my mandate here, the last 4 years have been marked by this geopolitical change. And as I've said, it has also been a privilege to be here because a number of very positive developments have taken place in the bilateral framework of Germany and Romania. First of all, Romania has always been an EU and a NATO ally for Germany for a long time already, but the years before 2021, maybe the focus of Germany and other Western European countries on this region was not as high as it should have been and as it has been deserved over the years before. But now this has changed. We have seen in the last 4 years a very impressive increase in exchanges on all political levels. For Germany, it was 2 visits of our federal presidents, 2 visits of our then federal chancellor, 2 visits of our then foreign minister, of a number of leaders from the federal states, parliamentarians, other ministers. This is unheard of, unseen of when it comes to German-Romanian relations before 2021.
And actually, you are the first ambassador since maybe history that was German ambassador in Romania under 3 chancellorships, Mrs. Merkel, Mr. Scholz, and now Mr. Merz.
Well, that's true. One would have to look that up. I don't think I can take any credit for that, but you're right. I mean, it's been an interesting time also for Germany domestically.
And for Romania as well.
And for Romania as well. But the good news is, despite having had 3 different chancellors, I think the focus and the perception of Romania has been very steady over the last 4 years, with German politicians and Berlin, in a sense, the political Berlin, very well and even better understanding now how important it is to have this partnership with Romania. Why? Because of its geography, being located where it is located, but second of all, because of the stance and the approach Romania has been taken in the international arena, in Brussels, and NATO, EU framework, always being a reliable partner, one partner always focusing on a joint solution, not trying to block, veto, or spoil the development of a joint position, but on the contrary, being always constructive. And this is something that needs to be appreciated and that is now appreciated much more than before.
If you were to rank maybe 3 of them, what are the most important bilateral initiatives or agreements, also at the EU and NATO level that you are most, let's say, proud of?
Well, I take pride in the fact that I had the privilege to be part of this development of a close political partnership that has not been there 4 years ago. And that's, of course, I cannot take credit for that. It's, as I've described, the geopolitical framework we're working in, but it's wonderful and something I'm really proud of to have been part of this building up of a even more intense and close political partnership, highlighted by these high-ranking visits, but by a much closer coordination on political issues. So this is certainly a highlight. What I take pride in personally is the fact that we have managed to bring Romania into the Schengen area. That's been something well-deserved and overdue for a long time, we all agree. But there has been some hesitancy on a number of countries before. And also Germany was not always the staunchest supporter of a speedy accession because there was a question or the perception that there needs to be some reforms done first in the judiciary field or when it comes to fighting corruption. And I think it has been one of the most important decisions of these last years on a European level to finally get Romania and Bulgaria in, because Romania and Bulgaria are part of the European family. It's completely unwise and unfair to keep these 2 countries out of the family. And I'm really, really happy that it worked out, despite it having taken for quite a long time. So this is something that has been also part of my mandate here. What I also take pride in, where I'm also very pleased to see, is that we have started a process of even closer cooperating on military and defense industry areas. That's a need, it's a must in the geopolitical framework we are in. And Romania has a very long-standing and rich tradition in defense industry. But of course now there is room for restarting it or kicking it off again. And that's where partnerships with German industry are a wonderful solution, I feel, and that's why we are working on that area very well. So we see a trend towards a closer cooperation in the defense industry field, which I'm very proud of.
We also know that Germany is Romania's top economic partner. And how has this economic partnership between our countries evolved in the last years, and what do you think that will be Germany's future investment priorities in Romania in sectors like energy, digital, military
defense,
industry, as you mentioned?
Yes, we've seen over the last decades, I might say, a steady increase in our economic partnership. Germany being de facto the biggest investor here in this country when it comes to the origin of the investment, Germany being by far the largest trading partner for Romania, and German companies providing numerous jobs in this country. So this has been a success story, not only for Romania, but for Germany and for German companies, a mutually beneficial partnership. We have seen this trend continue in the last years. Now we are in a situation, both our countries and the whole continent and whole world, I might say, where we also face a number of challenges. But the economic partnership over the last decades has always changed and developed. That's very necessary, and you've rightly pointed out to some areas where we'll see a future even broader and intense cooperation. Defense industry, energy, digitalization, in which is good. A lot of areas, all these areas are areas where Romania has a lot to offer. And that's why I do sense that we will see again a bit of an adaptation in the fields of cooperation, but a continuous growth in this regard. We do need to make sure that the international global framework stays a positive one, which is not too easy because given, as I've mentioned before, the trade disputes and the rise of terrorists, this will make our lives in Europe a lot more difficult. At the same time, we see high deficits in a number of countries. Also, Romania is, of course, challenged by this, which also shrinks the possibilities to have an active fiscal policy and approach. So the challenges are there, but overall we know and we understand, Germans and Romanians, that there's only one way forward, which is even more economic cooperation and cooperation in Europe. I think this is what makes us strong. And the more difficult the times are, the more important it is to join forces. So I can only warn that those voices pursuing a course of a renationalization, of isolation, will not do any good to any country. We in Europe are strong because we have one another.
But moving on from this last point that you mentioned, I have to stress that now in Berlin and Bucharest we have new leaderships in town. Chancellor Merz in Berlin, President Dan here in Romania. What role do you see for Romania and Germany under these new leaderships shaping the future of the European Union?
Both leaders will have a wonderful opportunity to continue on the path that has already been seen and that I've described over the last year of intensifying the cooperation. Both are from the same political family, if you like, and share the number of beliefs and convictions and values. So I think there's a wonderful potential for further intensifying the bilateral cooperation for the good of the two countries, but for the good of Europe at the same time. Again, we share an interest in keeping our continent safe. We share an interest in keeping our continent economically sound and stable, and to make Europe a continent that is driving and leading innovation, that is not just trying to secure what has been there in the past, but it's actually focusing on developing new value and new prosperity. So we do sing from the same sheet, so to speak, and that's where Chancellor Merz and President Dan have a wonderful opportunity to join forces.
When you began your mandate, Romania was a country, of course, of its pro-European stance that we all know, but it's mostly known because of being a welcoming and a very tolerant country. We had a president from a German minority, and you are also the ambassador of Germany to Romania when we succeeded our most important performance at the European Championship for 24 years. So what surprised you the most when you arrived here in Romania, and what will you miss the most in this country, from this country?
To start with the second part, I will miss many things, a lot of things. I will miss Romania and Romanians, with this country being so beautiful when it comes to nature, landscape, broad variety of different areas that many of them I've visited, and I really enjoyed having stayed here. And I will miss the people. I do feel a great closeness to Romania and Romanians, because the mentality is one that I very much connect to. How would I describe it? It's a very direct exchange. It's free of hierarchical boundaries, or you don't have to worry about whom do I contact, how. It's more a culture of sending a WhatsApp here and there, not worrying about the level or the rank. So this is something, this direct communication style is something that resonates with me, that I very much like. And I will miss that kind of friendly exchange and jointly working on these important issues that connect us. I will, of course, have, hopefully in the future, often the opportunity to travel back and come back and visit my friends here, which I will certainly do. But there are a number of areas that I certainly miss. What did surprise me to come back to the first part of your question, I was not a Romania expert before coming here, I have to say. And there were certainly many discoveries, not in the sense that I didn't know this or wasn't aware of that, but to give you one example, both countries are connected, for example, by the German minority, which has been here for centuries. And of course, I knew before that there were the Saxons and the Bannerter Schwaben, Swabians, and other groups, but I wasn't really aware of what they meant for the country, what they do today. And it's something I experienced, and I was very positively impressed and surprised, if you like, by seeing that despite the number of Germans in Romania being significantly lower than it has been historically, there is still a great connection between the minority and the mainstream, the Romanians as such, that there is no superstition of the minority, of the German minority, not being loyal to Romania, but on the contrary, an acknowledgement of the contribution of this minority to the development of a modern Romania. This is something I very much cherish, and wherever I traveled in this country, of course, I also made sure to stop by the local German community, and those were always fun and interesting exchanges I had there.
Thank you. One final question, Ambassador. As we mentioned, after your tenure, we have Romania into Schengen, we have Romania moving to OECD, we have this economic, energy, also military partnership. You came here when, as we mentioned, the pro-European position of this country was strong. We experienced some turbulent, extremist, isolationist, based on disinformation. And now we are back on our, let's say, European track or path. What advice would you give to your successor when he or she comes here to Romania?
I think my successor, first of all, will have a wonderful time, and I can only congratulate her. It will be a woman on assuming this position here, because she will enjoy all the advantages and the beauties that I've described in terms of the beauty of the country, the fantastic collaboration we have with the Romanian government and the Romanian authorities, and of course meeting Romanians all across the country. So she's first of all to be congratulated. I wouldn't give any specific advices in the sense that you have to do this or that, because every diplomat has a certain style and experience, and I feel there's no need for me to give any good advices here. But the only advice I would give is enjoy. This is a wonderful position. I couldn't think of any better on.
Vielen Dank für das anregende Gespräch, Herr Botschafter. Alles Gute für Ihre zukünftige Arbeit im Geiste des starken europäischen Deutschlands, das wir alle brauchen.
Vielen herzlichen Dank. Thank you so much.